Hi, so as 2020 draws to a close, I am just thinking about some of the positive things that have happened despite all the challenges that 2020 has brought to us in business. And one of the good things I've seen and positive things I've seen out there is that salespeople are still being sought after. There is still recruitment going on. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be useful for me to share with you three tips that I would suggest are crucial to recruiting and retaining good salespeople. It's a very challenging task for a lot of sales managers. I have trained many sales managers in my time, and I know that recruiting is difficult to get right. We all know that if it doesn't go right, then you can lose somebody really quickly within 6 months. And when you're talking about costs of an average in the UK of 33,000 up for one salesperson, then that's a big disappointment for anybody. So here's my three tips. So my first tip is don't hire on non-tangibles. There's been many a sales manager who said to me that they regretted hiring somebody because they thought they were going to be a great salesperson and they didn't turn out to be able to deliver the promises that they made when they interviewed them. And when asked what kind of promises and why they hired them in the first place, then unfortunately the answer was something along the lines of, well, they were going to bring us lots of new accounts because they had lots of great relationships. They're really good at building relationships. That was why. So, I'm thinking, well, okay, great relationships is not a tangible measure upon which you can hire somebody. What you really need to know is why they were able to build great relationships. So my suggestion is, if somebody says they've made great relationships or they're really good at relationship building, then the question that you should really be asking them is, what do you think is key to building a good relationship? What skill sets do you think you need to be able to do that effectively? Don't just take their word for being able to build great relationships. It's a non-tangible. The second tip is know what skill sets you are actually looking for in your new recruit, and have a list of those credentials from most essential to least essential, and then align your questions, your interview questions, at least 2 to 3 for each one, against each of those skill sets. And probe, ask the right sorts of questions that will help you to identify where you would rate that individual on each of those essential skill sets. Okay. My third tip is to make sure that you have a really good, robust induction plan ready and in place for your new recruit for when they start. It doesn't matter whether they have experience already. They don't have experience in your business. They don't know how your business works. If you want your salesperson to be able to go out into the marketplace and be able to explain to a customer what to expect without over promising something that you can't deliver, then you really need to help them to understand how things work in your organization. So I have put together a little list of things that I think you should have in your induction as essential contents. Aside from the selling skills themselves, I do put selling skills in there. It doesn't matter if somebody's been a salesperson before. It's always good to put them through an MOT. So have sales skills as a session, have HR policies and procedures as a session. Also have sales commercials and and marketplace as a session as well. Commercials are important. You'd be surprised how few salespeople actually understand things like difference between profit and margins. Also have in your induction plan a time allocated for the person to actually experience each function in the business so they can follow an order from marketing through to delivery. And they need to have hands-on experience, not just go and watch, but actually be involved, actively involved. With that, also make sure that they have conversations with the key personnel within the organisation, so they get some really good insight into the bigger picture that they can then use. Each of those steps that I've mentioned, and anything else that you want to include in your induction plan, should have a set of objectives tied to it. So learning objectives for the recruit, for the new recruit. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. And also, along with that, you should have a means to measure that learning at the end. And you should also be able to support the learning with some self-help resources as well, whether that's online self-help or reading literature, or perhaps somebody in the organisation that you can buddy them up with for some time as well. But these are what I would say are essential to an induction. Now, those are my 3 tips. The other thing I would also say is, you know, as a sales manager, we're always talking about salespeople having a pipeline of prospects and potential business. As a sales manager, you too should have a pipeline, and it should be full of potential new recruits, candidates. So always be on the lookout for them. That way, it's not as stressful when you're recruiting, and it's not as stressful when you have to put time aside for an induction plan. Okay, I hope those tips have helped. Look, you know, I create bespoke sales training for organisations. If this is something you want to talk to me about, do give me a shout. Right, that's it. So have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and let's look forward to a more prosperous 2021. And I will see you in it. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.